The emergency lights painted everything red inside the Galactic Council chambers. Ambassador Rilth watched dozens of species argue with each other, while holographic displays showed the same image over and over. A warship, human, silent. Waiting point 3 weeks had passed since first contact with Earth went wrong. The Council had sent a diplomatic vessel carrying gifts and greetings in 47 languages. The humans responded with coordinates and a single sentence: "Send no more ships to our space." Then they sent Harbinger. Nobody knew what to do with a species that refused to talk. Rilth moved through the chaos toward the main viewing screen. The human warship hung there in the darkness like a knife waiting to fall. Its hull was black, not the polished military gray of Council vessels. Strange symbols covered its surface in white paint. Human writing, perhaps, or warnings. Scans revealed nothing useful. Every probe sent near it simply stopped transmitting. "This is unacceptable." The Breck military commander slammed 3 of his 4 arms against the podium. His species believed in honor through combat, in facing enemies openly. They ignore our laws, our customs, our very authority. "Perhaps we should consider why they ignore us," Rilth said quietly. The chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to the Torvan ambassador. His insectoid features revealed nothing, but his voice carried weight earned through 47 successful peace negotiations. A Hurani trader spoke up, her aquatic suit bubbling softly. "The disputed systems. We need to discuss them." "There is nothing to dispute," the Breck commander growled. "We followed proper procedure. Survey drones declared those 3 worlds uninhabited. We filed claims. We established colonies. All legal under Council law." Rilth pulled up data files on his personal screen. 6 months ago, our colony ships arrived at 3 systems: Tevin's World, Azure Reach, and Outpost Meridian. Construction began immediately. Mining operations, agricultural settlements, military installations. Standard expansion protocols, someone called out. "Yes," Rilth agreed. "But 3 days ago, we received a message. Not from Earth, from our own colony on Tevin's World. Construction crews breached an underground structure. They thought it was a cave system. It was not. The holographic display changed. Images appeared of a destroyed facility. Clean metallic walls covered in strange equipment. Laboratory spaces, living quarters, and bodies. Human bodies. 17 dead," Rilth continued. "They've been living there for 3 years, studying the planet's geology and ecosystem. We never detected them because they built downward instead of upward. Their technology focuses on minimal environmental impact. They were trespassing on our world," the Breck commander shouted. "Our records show they were there first," a Silten observer said from the shadows. The ancient species rarely spoke in Council sessions. When they did, everyone listened. Earth placed automated marker beacons in all 3 systems 5 years ago. We simply never scanned the correct frequencies. Murmurs spread through the chamber. This changed everything, yet changed nothing. Council law was based on detection and filing claims. If the beacons went unnoticed, they held no legal weight. Regardless of who arrived first, Rilth said carefully, "We now have 3 systems with both Council and human populations. Azure Reach mining operations discovered 2 more human research stations. Outpost Meridian found evidence of human presence, but no survivors." "How many total?" asked the Hurani. 127 human researchers. All dead, most from what we classified as construction accidents or facility malfunctions. The Breck commander's anger faded slightly. "We did not know they were there. They tried to tell us." Rilth displayed communication logs. "For 6 months, our colony administrators received signals they classified as equipment interference or natural phenomena. These were attempts at contact. Human scientists try to make themselves known without startling our colonists." "Why did they not simply reveal themselves?" someone asked. "Cultural differences, perhaps," Rilth suggested. "Or perhaps they feared how we would react to finding them on what we believed were our worlds." The Silten observer moved forward into the light. His aged features showed concern. "When contact failed and their people died, Earth responded with precision. Not with diplomacy, because diplomacy had failed. Not with explanations, because we did not listen. They sent a message we could not ignore. All eyes returned to Harbinger on the screen. 3 Breck Scout ships approached that vessel 6 days ago. The commander said quietly. They had orders only to observe and establish communication. We have heard nothing since. No reiki. No these tres signals. They simply vanished. The humans are warning us, Rilth said. They sent 1 ship to demonstrate their seriousness. They position it where we cannot miss it. They give us time to think, to investigate, to understand what happened. Or they are cowards, the Breck commander suggested. Hiding behind 1 mysterious vessel while hoping we back down from legal claims. Rilth made a decision. I will go to them. Take a diplomatic shuttle. Attempt contact directly. That is dangerous, the Hurani warned. 3 ships already disappeared. Those are military vessels. I will go unarmed, broadcasting peaceful intentions in all known languages, including the human ones we have learned. Rilth turned to face the council. We built colonies on top of their people, killed 127 researchers through ignorance, and then ignored their attempts at communication. The least we can do is try to talk. The vote passed quickly. Nobody else wanted to approach Harbinger that Rilth's shuttle launched 2 hours later. The journey took 6 days. 6 days of watching the human warship grow larger, darker, more wrong with each passing hour. Its silence felt like a living thing. When the shuttle finally came within communication range, Rilth transmitted greetings in 15 languages. No response. He tried explaining the situation, offering apologies for the deaths, requesting dialogue. Silence. Then, after 3 minutes that felt like hours, Harbinger activated. Lights appeared along its hull. Sensors locked onto the shuttle. Rilth felt his heart's racing as a transmission came through. Perfect council standard language. Clear. Cold. Final. You have been warned. Withdraw from the disputed systems within 72 hours. This is not a negotiation. The channel closed. Harbinger's lights dimmed. The warship returned to its silent waiting. Rilth sat in his shuttle, shaking. The humans were not interested in his apologies or explanations. They had delivered an ultimatum. Withdraw or face consequences. He turned his shuttle around and began the long journey back to council space. Behind him, Harbinger watched and waited. And somewhere out there, Earth was watching too. The humans had sent no envoys, no ambassadors, no diplomats. They sent pure terror wrapped in metal and silence. And 72 hours to decide the galaxy's future. The analysis chamber hummed with activity. Specialists from 12 different species crowded around holographic displays, studying every detail of the human transmission. Linguists debated word choices. Military strategists examined the threat patterns. Psychologists tried to understand human thinking. Rilth stood apart from the chaos, still shaken from his encounter with Harbinger. The warship's silence had been worse than any weapon. It simply waited out there, patient and deadly. Ambassador, we need your input, called out Specialist One. The human woman approached with careful steps, her movements measured and cautious. She was one of only 12 humans living in council space, all researchers or cultural observers who had left Earth years ago. What can I tell you that you have not already learned? When asked quietly, she looked tired, frightened even. The council had summoned her 16 hours ago and questioned her constantly about human intentions. Explain to us why your people respond with violence instead of dialogue, the Breck commander demanded. We have procedures for handling territorial disputes. Arbitration, mediation, not warships. When close her eyes briefly. How much do you know about Earth's expansion into space? Your species colonized roughly 200 systems over the last century, Rilth answered. Slower than most spacefaring civilizations, but steady. You seem to prefer thorough surveys before establishing permanent settlements. Because we learned hard lessons, when said. She pulled up a display showing Earth's history. For thousands of years, my ancestors fought each other over resources, territory, beliefs. We nearly destroyed ourselves multiple times. Nuclear weapons, biological warfare, environmental collapse. Many species go through difficult periods, the Hurani observer noted. Yes, but we learned something specific from our mistakes. When highlighted sections of human history, every time a more powerful group colonized a less powerful one, the same pattern repeated. The powerful claimed the land was empty or unused. They built their settlements. They extracted resources. And when the original inhabitants tried to make themselves heard, they were ignored or eliminated. The chamber grew quiet. "You're saying we did this to your research teams," Rilf said softly. "Not intentionally." Wen's voice cracked slightly. "I know the council did not mean to kill anyone, but intent matters less than action. Your colony's built on top of our people. When our researchers tried to contact you, their signals were dismissed as background noise. When they tried to approach your settlements, your automated defenses drove them back underground. And when your construction finally broke through to their facilities, 127 humans died. We have offered reparations," the Brett commander said. "Financial compensation for the families. Public apologies. Is that not sufficient?" Wen shook her head. "You still do not understand. This is not about money or apologies. Earth sent those researchers because we wanted to learn about those worlds. We spent 3 years studying the ecosystems, the geology, the potential for life. We were not there to exploit. We were there to understand." She pulled up new data files. "Tevin's world has active volcanic systems that your colony never detected. The human team knew. They tried to warn your administrators. Those warnings were ignored. In approximately 48 hours, that volcano will erupt directly beneath your primary settlement." Several council members checked their own geological data. Confirmations came back quickly. Seismic activity was building. The predictions matched human calculations. 2 million of our people are in danger," the Hurani said quietly. "Yes," one agreed. "And Earth knows this. They have better planetary data than you do because they spent years studying those worlds properly instead of rushing to exploit them." Rilf felt pieces clicking together in his mind. Harbinger is not there to threaten us. It is there to force us to pay attention. Exactly. When shoulders sagged. "We tried talking. Your people died because you would not listen. So Earth sent something you cannot ignore. A warship powerful enough to make you afraid. Afraid enough to finally hear what we have been trying to say." "What happens when a 72-hour deadline passes?" Rilf asked. "I left Earth 8 years ago. I do not know their current military capabilities or strategies." One looked directly at the Brett commander. "But I know human history. When we fight, we do not fight for honor or glory. We fight to survive. And we are very, very good at it." "One ship," the commander scoffed. "The council has thousands. Our combined fleet numbers over 40,000 vessels. Surely they know they cannot win. Can they not?" The Siltan observer spoke from the shadows again. "We sent 3 scout ships to investigate. All 3 vanished without trace. No battle, no liberty, just silence. Does that sound like a species we could defeat easily?" Debate erupted again. Some demanded immediate military mobilization. Others pushed for negotiation. A few suggested simply withdrawing and avoiding conflict entirely. "We need more time," Rilf said loudly. The arguing stopped. "We need to understand what we face before making any decision. The deadline is absolute," one reminded them. 72 hours from when the ultimatum was delivered. That gives you approximately 61 hours remaining. Then we use that time wisely. Rilf turned to the military analysts. "Show us everything we know about that warship." The displays changed. Harbinger appeared from multiple angles. Every scan attempt had failed to penetrate its hull. Energy signatures were strange, fluctuating in patterns that made no sense. Size estimates varied wildly depending on which sensors were used. "It is as if the ship is designed to confuse our technology," one analyst said. "Because it is, when confirmed. Humans study their enemies carefully. You made first contact with us 3 weeks ago. In that time, every scan you performed, every probe you sent, every communication you transmitted taught us about your technology. Earth adapted. In 3 weeks?" someone asked incredulously. "Earth has been preparing for contact with alien species for centuries," one said. We knew we were not alone in the universe. We knew eventually we would meet others. We planned for every possibility, including hostile contact. Rilf studied the human woman carefully. She seemed genuinely distressed by the situation, caught between her adopted council home and her species of origin. What would you do in our position? She took a long breath. Evacuate the 3 systems. Withdraw peacefully. Open diplomatic channels through proper communication instead of assuming you can claim territory without consequences. Learn from this mistake. Unacceptable, the Breck commander stated. We cannot appear weak before other species. If we back down now, every territorial claim we make in the future will be challenged. Then you choose war, when said simply. And I hope you understand what that means. The deadline was ticking down. 60 hours and counting. Somewhere beyond council space, Harbinger waited in silence. And behind it, Earth was watching to see what the galaxy would choose, peace or destruction, understanding or conflict. The council had 60 hours to decide. Fleet Admiral Dren reviewed his forces with satisfaction. 200 warships formed a perfect blockade formation around the perimeter of Sector 9. His crews were ready. His weapons were charged. His tactical displays showed every advantage belonged to the Council. The 72-hour deadline had passed 4 hours ago. Earth's response was predictable. Harbinger had moved for the first time since its arrival, accelerating away from Council space at what seemed like a leisurely pace. They are retreating, Dren's second officer reported with obvious relief. No, Dren said slowly. He studied the trajectory plot. They are heading somewhere specific. The calculations finished processing. Harbinger's destination became clear. Orbital Forge 7, the Council's largest military shipyard. 10,000 workers constructing 50 new warships simultaneously. Battle speed, Dren ordered. Intercept course. Communications, broadcast on all frequencies. Demand their surrender. The chase lasted 4 days. Harbinger stayed just ahead of the Council fleet, never quite close enough for weapons range, never far enough to lose visual contact. It was like the human ship wanted to be followed. When Orbital Forge 7 appeared on long-range sensors, Dren understood the trap. The humans were demonstrating something. But what? His fleet established a blockade formation. 200 ships formed concentric rings around Harbinger. Standard Council military doctrine for capturing enemy vessels. Surround them. Cut off escape routes. Force surrender through overwhelming presence. Forge 7. This is Fleet Admiral Dren. Evacuate all non-essential personnel immediately. This is not a drill. He switched channels. Harbinger, you are surrounded. Power down your weapons systems and prepare to be boarded. You will face justice for the murder of our scout crews. Silence from the human ship. Always silence. Then Harbinger's hull began opening. Not weapon ports. Launch bays. Hundreds of them. Drones deploying, the tactical officer shouted. Count is 300, 400, still increasing. Dren watched the swarm emerge. Each drone was small, maybe the size of a fighter craft. Automated weapons were common in Council warfare. His point defense systems could handle them easily. All ships, defensive formation. Target those drones. Free to engage. But something felt wrong. The drones were not attacking. They ignored the blockade completely and accelerated toward Forge 7. Their movements were fluid, organic almost. They dodged and weaved through space like living creatures. Fire control reports they cannot get a lock, someone called out. The drones are predicting our targeting solutions. Impossible, Dren said. But the tactical display did not lie. Every shot his fleet fired missed. The drones seemed to know where weapons would fire before the gunners pulled the triggers. They are analyzing our firing patterns in real time, his science officer said quietly. Their processing speed is beyond anything in our database. The drone swarm reached Forge 7's defensive perimeter. The shipyard's automated defenses activated. Thousands of point defense cannons tracked and fired. Not a single drone was hit. Dren watched in horror as the swarm flowed through the shipyard like water through a net. They moved between the 50 ships under construction with perfect precision. Not one collision. Not one mistake. Then the drones stopped. They hung in space around each unfinished warship, absolutely motionless. What were they doing? Dren demanded. His tactical officer zoomed in on the nearest ship. A Council destroyer, 80% complete. The drones were spraying something on its hull. Paint, bright red, targeting markers at every critical structural point. Engine systems, power cores, bridge, weapon arrays, life support. They are marking kill shots, the science officer whispered. Ship after ship received the same treatment. 50 Council warships, each one marked for death. The drones worked quickly, efficiently, perfectly. Not one worker was harmed. Not one existing ship was damaged. This was not an attack. It was a demonstration. When the last ship was marked, the drones returned to Harbinger. They flew through the Council blockade again, untouched and untouchable. The launch bays closed. Silence returned. Then a new transmission came through. The same cold voice from before. We marked what we could destroy. We chose not to. Next time, we choose differently. You have 24 hours to begin evacuation of the 3 disputed systems. The channel closed. Dren stared at his tactical display. 200 of the Council's finest warships had been completely useless. The shipyard's defenses had failed utterly. And Harbinger had demonstrated superiority so absolute that resistance seemed pointless. Admiral, what are your orders? His second officer asked quietly. Dren had no answer. He had commanded fleets for 30 years. He had fought in 17 conflicts. He understood military power and how to use it. But this was different. The humans were not interested in fighting. They were interested in making the Council understand that fighting was futile. Send full reports to Council Command, Dren said finally. Include tactical analysis of the drone capabilities. Recommend immediate strategic reassessment. Should we maintain the blockade? Dren looked at Harbinger on the display. The warship hung there peacefully, having just proven it could destroy 50 ships without breaking formation. No, pull back to minimum safe distance. Do not provoke them further. The fleet retreated. Dren felt shame burning through him. His entire career had been built on the principle that overwhelming force guaranteed victory. The humans had just shattered that principle with a handful of automated drones. Back at the Council chambers, panic spread faster than light-speed communication. Images of the marked ships appeared on every display. Military analysts argued frantically about how such technology was possible. Politicians demanded immediate escalation, but one voice cut through the chaos. The Silten observer, ancient and tired. I must share something with you all, he said. Something we hid for 3,000 years, hoping it would never become relevant again. Holographic records appeared. Ancient battles, burning worlds, species driven to extinction. Images from a war most Council members thought was myth. The Devourer War, the Silten said quietly. We swore we would never face another Death World species in combat. You have just broken that oath. He pulled up planetary classification data. Earth's profile appeared alongside another world from ancient history, both marked as Class 12 Death Worlds. High gravity, extreme weather, dangerous native life, evolution through constant survival pressure. The Devourers came from a world like Earth. The Silten continued. They sent one ship as a warning. We dismissed them as primitive. We sent 500 ships to crush them. Not one returned. The chamber fell completely silent. The war lasted 9 years. 12 of our worlds were destroyed. 4 entire species went extinct. 200 billion lives lost. We only won because we abandoned everything we believed about honorable warfare. We committed genocide to end the threat. The Sultan looked at each council member in turn. That was 3,000 years ago. We were younger then, more arrogant, less wise. But even with all our modern technology and massive fleets, I ask you this question. He gestured to the images of Harbinger's drone demonstration. Can we afford to be wrong about humanity? The historical archives projected images of horror across the council chamber walls. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. They simply watched 3,000 years of buried shame reveal itself. The Devourer homeworld burned on the displays. Not for natural fire, but from weapons designed to crack planets open from the inside. The Council's final solution when conventional warfare failed. They were stronger than us, the Silten continued. His voice carried the weight of centuries. Not in numbers, not in resources, but in will, in adaptability, in their absolute refusal to surrender. He highlighted tactical records from the war. The Devourers never fielded more than 50 ships at any time. We sent 10,000. Yet for 9 years, they held us back. Every time we adapted to their tactics, they changed. Every time we found their weaknesses, they evolved. Specialist would move closer to the displays. She studied the images with an expression Rilth could not read. Horror, perhaps, or recognition. How they fight, she asked quietly, like nothing we had encountered before. The Silten pulled up battle reports. They ignored our concepts of honorable combat. There were no formal challenges, no single combat between champions, no rules of engagement. They ambushed supply convoys. They targeted civilian infrastructure to force resource diversion. They used psychological warfare, broadcasting images of our defeats to demoralize our populations. They fought to win, one said. Yes, while we fought to prove ourselves superior, they fought for survival. And survival has no rules except success or death. The Breck commander shifted uncomfortably. His species valued honor in battle above all else. You are saying the humans will fight like this? Earth's history suggests worse. When answer before the Silten could respond, she pulled up her own data files. May I? The Silten gestured permission, which displayed human history in brutal detail. My species has been at war with itself for most of its existence. We developed nuclear weapons and immediately used them on civilian populations. We created biological warfare and deployed it. We invented chemical weapons that melted flesh and burned lungs. Council members recoiled from the images. We fought 2 global wars in the span of 30 years that killed over 100 million of our own people. We nearly rendered our planet uninhabitable through our weapons. Wen's voice remained steady, but her hand shook. And we learned from every mistake. We studied warfare like some species study art. We refined killing into a science. Then why do you not conquer the galaxy? The Hurani asked. With such knowledge and such weapons, why remain isolated? Because we learned the other lesson too, Wen said softly. We learn what we become when we fight, what we lose. The cost of victory when victory requires becoming monsters. She changed the display to show Earth's colonization patterns. Slow, careful, thorough surveys before any settlement. Small research teams studying ecosystems for years before larger populations arrived. Earth decided that if we ever met other intelligent life, we would try to be better than we were to ourselves. We would listen. We would learn. We would not repeat the colonial mistakes of our past. One looked at Rilth. That is why our research teams hid underground. They did not want to interfere with your colonization. They hoped to study quietly and eventually make peaceful contact. But we killed them, Rilth said. Yes. And Earth's response was not the full military assault we are capable of. It was one ship, one warning, one chance for you to understand without experiencing the full horror of human warfare. The Silten nodded slowly. This matches the Devourer pattern. They tried peaceful contact first. When we ignored them, they escalated carefully. Warning after warning after warning. We dismissed each one until they had no choice but total war. How many warnings did you ignore? When asked, the Silten closed his eyes. 17. They sent emissaries. We captured them for study. They sent messages. We classified them as primitive attempts at communication. They withdrew to their own territory. We saw it as weakness and pressed forward. By the time they deployed their full military, we had ignored 17 opportunities for peace. Earth has given you 2 warnings, Wen said. The deaths of our researchers, which you dismissed as accidents, and Harbinger, which you are still debating as a military challenge rather than a final plea for understanding. What happens if we ignore this warning? Rilth asked. I honestly do not know the specifics, Wen admitted. But I know human strategic thinking. We do not make empty threats. If Harbinger is here, Earth is already committed to following through on any ultimatum they deliver. The displays changed again. Long-range sensors showed new data. Anomalies detected at the edges of Council space. Dozens of them, appearing simultaneously across multiple sectors. "What are those?" someone asked. The sensor technician's voice shook. "Unknown contacts. Similar energy signatures to Harbinger. Stealth technology is making exact counts difficult, but preliminary estimates suggest at least 800 vessels." The chamber erupted in panic. The Breck commander stood. "This is an invasion fleet." They were never interested in negotiation. They planned this from the beginning. "No," one said firmly. "Look at their positions. They are not arranged for attack. They are blocking every major trade route and military corridor in Council space. This is a complete strategic blockade." Rilf studied the patterns. She was right. The human ships were positioned perfectly to cut off all Council movement without firing a single shot. It was brilliant and terrifying. "How long have they been there?" he asked. "Unknown," the technician replied. "Their stealth capabilities are beyond our sensors. They could have been in position for days or weeks." "They were waiting," the Silten said, "waiting to see if we would choose peace or war. Now that the deadline has passed and we have not withdrawn, they reveal their true strength." A new transmission arrived, different from Harbinger's cold voice. This one was warmer, almost gentle. "Female, Galactic Council, I am Captain Lyra Okonkwo of the United Earth Fleet. I apologize for the dramatic entrance, but you left us few options. Our people tried peaceful contact for 6 months. You ignored them. 127 humans died because you would not listen. We will not allow that mistake to be repeated." The holographic display showed a human woman in a simple uniform. No weapons visible. No threatening gestures. Just calm determination. "We detected dangerous seismic activity on Tevin's world. Your primary colony site will be destroyed by volcanic eruption within 36 hours. We are dispatching evacuation ships to assist your people. Whether you choose peace or war with us, we will not let 2 million beings die for your government's mistakes." The transmission ended. Rilf looked around the chamber. Every face showed shock. The humans were offering to save Council citizens while simultaneously blockading their entire civilization. "They fight to win," he said quietly, "but they also fight to protect, even their enemies." Live feeds from Tevin's world filled every screen in the Council chambers. Human ships descended through the atmosphere, not as invaders, but as rescuers. Civilian transports, medical vessels, cargo haulers converted for emergency evacuation. Council colonists stumbled from their homes in confusion and fear. Then they saw the humans. Ground teams wearing simple protective gear moved through the settlement with calm efficiency. They carried no weapons. They did not force anyone to evacuate. They simply explained the danger and offered help. "Volcanic eruption in 34 hours," a human medic said in perfect Breck language to a family of 4. "We have transport ready. Bring only what you can carry. We will help with the rest." The father bared his teeth in aggression. "You killed our scout ships. Why should we trust you?" The medic's expression remained patient. "Your scouts approached a military vessel with active weapons. They were warned 3 times to maintain distance. They ignored the warnings. I am sorry for your loss, but I am here to save your life, not debate past mistakes." She moved on to the next family. Professional. Focused. No time for arguments when lives were at risk. Ambassador Rilf watched the feeds with growing wonder. "They are saving our people, while holding our entire civilization hostage," the Breck commander countered. "Do not forget the 800 warships surrounding our space, which have not fired a single shot," Rilf pointed out. "They demonstrated their capabilities at Forge 7. They proved they could destroy our military infrastructure whenever they choose. Yet they focused their energy on evacuation." Specialist one stepped forward. "May I explain human military philosophy?" The Silten gestured for her to continue. "Earth learned something through countless wars when said, destroying your enemy is easy. Destroying them so completely they can never threaten you again requires genocide. But making your enemy choose peace because they understand the cost of war, that is the ultimate victory. She pointed to the evacuation feeds. Harbinger terrified you. The drone demonstration humiliated your fleet. The blockade trapped you. But none of that created understanding. This, saving your people from a disaster you failed to predict, this shows you what humanity values. They value life, Rilth said quietly. They value the ability to choose when corrected. Right now, the Council must choose. Evacuate the 3 disputed systems peacefully and establish diplomatic relations, or refuse and face the consequences. What consequences? Someone demanded. They have shown they will not harm civilians. The consequences of fighting an enemy who is smarter, faster, and more committed than you are. When pulled up tactical analyses, Earth has 800 ships here. We have maybe twice that many for our entire military. We do not win through numbers. We win through preparation, adaptation, and absolute willingness to do whatever is necessary. The Breck commander slammed his arms down. This is unacceptable. We cannot simply surrender our sovereignty because one species threatens us. Is it surrender to acknowledge a mistake? Rilth asked. We built colonies on top of their people. We killed 127 researchers. We ignored their attempts at communication. Perhaps we are not surrendering sovereignty. Perhaps we are simply accepting responsibility. Ambassador Rilth speaks wisdom, the Silten said. I have lived through one war with a death world species. I watched 12 of our worlds burn. I saw 4 species go extinct. I helped write the laws that said we would never repeat that mistake. He looked at each council member. We are at a moment of choice. We can admit our error, withdraw from 3 systems out of the tens of thousands we control, and establish peaceful relations with humanity. Or we can fight and pray that our superior numbers can overcome their superior tactics. We outnumber them 40,000 to 800, the Breck commander insisted. Those are overwhelming odds. The Devourers were outnumbered 200 to 1, the Silten replied. It did not matter. They were smarter, faster, and more desperate than we were. They made us pay for every meter of space we took. They turned our numerical advantage into a logistics nightmare. They made us fight on their terms, not ours. Fleet Admiral Dren entered the chamber. His uniform was perfect, but his face showed exhaustion. I must report on the Forge 7 incident. Everyone fell silent. The drones that marked our ships have been analyzed, Dren said. Their AI processing capability exceeds our best computer systems by a factor of 50. Their energy efficiency allows them to operate for years without refueling. Their maneuverability breaks what we thought were the physical limits of inertia management. He pulled up technical diagrams. We cannot replicate this technology. It would take us decades just to understand the principles behind it. The humans are not slightly ahead of us technologically. They are generations ahead in specific fields critical to warfare. Then we have already lost, someone whispered. No. Captain Okonkwo's voice returned. Her face appeared on the displays again. You have not lost because there is no war. There will only be war if you force it. She stood in what looked like a garden. Plants from multiple worlds grew around her. This is aboard our diplomatic vessel, Prometheus. We built it to carry Earth's ecosystem wherever we go, to remind us what we protect when we deploy our warships. The camera panned to show the interior. Not military gray and harsh lighting, but living spaces designed for comfort and growth. We are not conquerors, Okonkwo said. We are gardeners who learn to fight because gardens need protection. The 3 systems you claim are not resources to exploit. They are ecosystems to study and preserve. Our researchers died trying to protect them. She looked directly into the camera. I'm offering you 1 week to evacuate all council personnel from the 3 systems. We will provide safe passage. We will help transport your people and possessions. We will ensure no one is harmed during the transition. After 1 week, those systems return to Earth jurisdiction. Any council presence remaining will be removed. Not killed, not harmed, simply relocated to neutral territory. Her expression hardened. But if you choose war instead of peace, you will discover what humans become when our gardens are threatened. The transmission ended. The council chamber remained silent for a long moment. Then the Silten spoke. I call for a vote. Withdraw from the three systems and accept Earth's offer of peaceful transition, or maintain our claim and face military conflict. Rilf felt his heart racing. This vote would determine the galaxy's future. Peace or war, understanding or destruction. All in favor of withdrawal, the Silten called. Hands began to rise. The vote count appeared on the central display. 64 species voted for withdrawal. 63 voted for maintaining the claim. The council was split almost perfectly down the middle. Ancient protocol required the eldest species to break tied votes. All eyes turned to the Silten observer. He stood slowly, his aged body moving with difficulty. 847 years of life showed in every gesture. I have seen war, he said quietly. I have seen what we become when we fight for pride instead of necessity. I vote for withdrawal. The chamber erupted. 65 to 63. Withdrawal won by the narrowest possible margin. But before anyone could formalize the decision, every display activated simultaneously. Live feeds from Tevin's world showed something unexpected. The volcanic eruption had begun early. Massive explosions tore through the surface. Lava fountains reached kilometers into the sky. The ground where the main council settlement stood liquefied and collapsed. 2 million people should have died in seconds. They did not. The evacuation was already complete. Every colonist, every worker, every family was safely aboard human transports orbiting the planet. The settlement burned, but it was empty. How? The Breck commander whispered. The eruption was predicted for tomorrow. Human geology teams knew the exact timeline. Specialist once said. She was crying. They knew it would happen today and lied about the timing to force faster evacuation. They made you think you had more time, so you would not panic and waste hours debating. On the feeds, human ships maintained perfect formation around the planet. Not one vessel was damaged by the volcanic debris. They had positioned themselves exactly where they needed to be, accounting for eruption patterns and atmospheric disturbances that a new transmission came through. Captain Okonkwo appeared again, now standing in what looked like a command center. All council personnel from Tevin's world are safe. We're transferring them to neutral stations where your own ships can retrieve them. Medical teams are treating 47 individuals with minor injuries. No fatalities. She paused. Your settlement would have killed everyone. Not because you were malicious, but because you did not take time to understand the world you were colonizing. This is why Earth moves slowly. Why we study for years before building. Why we value understanding over exploitation. The display split to show Azure Reach and Outpost Meridian. Human ships were positioned at both locations, beginning peaceful evacuations. We are offering transportation assistance at all three systems. Okonkwo continued. Your people will be treated with respect and care. This transition will be conducted without violence, without intimidation, without revenge for the researchers you killed. Why? The Breck commander called out, though she could not hear him. Why save us? As if answering his question, Okonkwo said, some of you wonder why we help after you killed our people. The answer is simple. Those researchers died because of miscommunication and ignorance, not malice. We do not punish entire civilizations for the mistakes of their governments. She gestured off-screen. Besides, one of your colonies accidentally discovered something important. The display changed to show recovered footage from one of the underground facilities. Human researchers studying local plant life. A Breck child had wandered into the facility through a breach in the tunnel system. The researchers found her, fed her, played with her, and safely returned her to the surface near her home. Your daughter wandered into our Outpost Meridian facility 7 months ago, Okonkwo said. My colleague spent 3 hours teaching her about the local flowers before finding her parents. She was never in danger. We were never your enemies. The Breck commander's face changed. That was his daughter. She had told him about the nice aliens who showed her pretty plants. He thought she had imagined it. We are not at war, Okonkwo said firmly. We never were. We were simply trying to protect the worlds we love from being destroyed by rapid colonization. Now we have the opportunity to show you a better way. Ambassador Rilf stood. Captain Okonkwo, if you can hear this transmission, the Galactic Council accepts your terms. We will withdraw from all 3 systems within your 1-week timeline. We request formal diplomatic discussions to prevent future misunderstandings. A response came faster than lightspeed lag should allow. Ambassador Rilf, we have been listening to Council communications since this began. We accept your request for diplomatic relations. I am transmitting coordinates for a neutral meeting location. The data appeared on screens throughout the chamber. 6 days later, Rilf's shuttle docked with Prometheus. He expected military decor and intimidation tactics. Instead, he found gardens, laboratories, cultural exhibits showing Earth's history and arts. Captain Okonkwo greeted him warmly. She was younger than he expected, maybe 40 Earth years. Her uniform was simple, practical, without excessive decoration. "Thank you for choosing peace," she said. "You gave us little choice," Rilf replied, but without hostility. "We gave you the choice between peace and war. The fact that you chose peace tells me there is hope for our species to work together." She led him through the ship. "Would you like to know the truth about Harbinger?" "Very much." They entered a strategic planning room. Holographic displays showed the entire human fleet deployment. "We have 847 warships total," Okonkwo said. "That is our entire military. Every ship we could build over the last century." Rilf stared. "You deployed your entire fleet?" "Yes. We bet everything on this working. If you had chosen war, we would have fought, but the cost would have been devastating for both sides." She pulled up casualty projections. Conservative estimates suggested we would destroy 15% of Council military capacity before being overwhelmed. That would be 6,000 of your ships and all 800 of ours. Billions of lives lost. Then Harbinger was not invincible. Harbinger is advanced, but not magical. The drone demonstration used every drone we had. The stealth technology works, but not perfectly. We made you afraid of what you could not see, and that fear made you cautious enough to think. Okonkwo smiled sadly. Psychological warfare is cheaper than actual warfare. She handed him a datapad. "This is a treaty proposal. Earth will maintain the 3 systems as nature preserves. Council scientists are welcome to join our research teams. We will share all planetary survey data to prevent future tragedies like Tevin's world. We will establish embassies and cultural exchanges." Rilf read through the terms. They were fair, generous even. "Why not demand reparations for your dead researchers?" "Because we do not want revenge. We want understanding." Okonkwo gestured to the gardens visible through the viewports. "We spent centuries fighting ourselves over resources and territory. We learned that cooperation builds more than competition destroys. We want to teach the galaxy that lesson without forcing it through bloodshed." 3 months later, the treaty was ratified. Council scientists joined human research teams in the 3 systems. Joint projects prevented 2 more volcanic disasters and identified 17 other colony locations with hidden dangers. The memorial wall was erected in orbit around Tevin's world. 127 names carved in metal that would last millennia. Below them, an inscription in both human and council languages. They came in peace. They died unheard. We will do better. Ambassador Rilf stood before the memorial with Captain Okonkwo beside him. "Do you think we will ever truly understand each other?" "We are trying," she said softly. "That is what matters." Harbinger remained on station nearby. Silent guardian. Reminder of what could have been.